and welcome to my channel, Talisman Tarot. In this reading I want to ask the cards and spirit directly through channeling about what your cousin thinks of you. And I have 3 groups that you can choose from. This will be group number 1, this will be group number 2, and this will be group number 3. And so I will ask you to use your intuition and choose the group that speaks to you the most, the group that catches your eye, and that group will be your group. And if you need any more time to choose, you can just pause the video. But if you don't need any more time, then just head down to the description box below and find the timestamp for your particular group and click on that, and your reading should appear in front of you. And while you're down there in the description box below, make sure to check out my guide on how to book a personal reading from me. I love doing personal readings for you guys. It's always a pleasure. So please check that out. But let's focus on this reading right here. So choose your group and I'll see you in your reading. Hello, group number 1, you chose the Eclectic Tarot, and I'm going to start with some channeling and then I'm going to shuffle the cards for you. So I'm going to do the channeling now. So Spirit, can you answer this question for group number 1, the people who will choose group number 1? What does group number 1's cousin think of group number 1? They think of you as someone they don't have a lot of contact with anymore. It seems like there is a separation between you and your cousin. It seemed like you were divided at some point, maybe when you were teenagers. It seems like you used to have a lot of fond moments together when you were children. I feel like your cousin has a lot of nostalgia when it comes to that time. I feel like your cousin remembers you two like playing together in a garden. I feel like there was some water, like a water slide or something with like a water hose that was being used to create a water slide or something. Like, it just seems like some kind of summer memory of you two having a lot of fun together when you were children. And I think your cousin also has some pictures from your childhood that I think your cousin looks at those pictures sometimes and remembers, you know, a lot of good moments. It just seemed like, you know, a very simple time back then. But it seems like something happened, and I feel like there could have been a lot of reasons for this separation. I'm getting that it could be because either you or your parents moved away, or maybe your cousin's parents moved away. So maybe there was an actual separation that, you know, that when either one of you moved away, it became a long distance relationship, and then it just fizzled out after that because, you know, it might have just been too hard to uphold this connection when you lived so far away from each other. That could be one reason, but I'm also getting that there could be another reason here, and that could be some kind of family drama, that there might have been some kind of division in the family where one person got angry with another person, and then, you know, it turned into some kind of loyalty contest with the rest of the extended family, where everybody was supposed to pick a side, and, you know, whichever side they chose, they had to stick with that side, and nobody could cross over to the other side, because then they would show disloyalty towards this person. And there might have been some kind of, you know, family politics going on, like that. Somehow people were holding a grudge against someone, like isolating someone from the rest of the family, and everybody seemed to collectively agree that this was the best option, that it was just best to just push this person out of the family and act like this person didn't exist or something. And maybe this person was your cousin's father or mother, who was the one who was the scapegoat of the family, like the black sheep. I guess, I don't know if it's a black sheet, but there might have been something with black sheets. But I guess it just seemed like someone like that. Yeah, black sheets could be something to do with with sexual promiscuity, something with someone who was somehow putting shame on the family, or someone thought that it was shameful, that maybe someone did something out of wedlock or something, and somehow the whole family agreed that this was terrible, and so this person just needed to be disowned or something. I don't know, like it just feels like an overreaction, but I don't know what this was about. Maybe it wasn't an overreaction, maybe it was fair enough. Like if someone cheated on another person, then maybe okay, maybe that is enough reason to for the family to somehow ignore this person forever out of discontent with whatever they did. But I just feel like this seemed to be like, even if this is your cousin's father or mother who did something, like I feel like maybe they stuck together. Like maybe they didn't break up, but the family broke up with them. And I feel like that's a bigger punishment towards the person who was just cheated on. Like, how would that help anything to just kind of push both of them out of the family and act like they don't exist? I don't think that could be the thing here, because I feel like that's too big of a punishment, and feels strange that they would all just agree that the best way to deal with this is to just stop contacting them. It just feels weird. But okay, I don't know what this is, but I feel like there was some family drama. Some people agreed that someone was the scum of the earth, and so they didn't want to have nothing to do with that person anymore. And so, you and your cousin, you were just blameless victim of all this. Like, you were just stuck in the middle. You had no part to play in this, but you were affected by it, obviously, because when there's some kind of family drama, the victims of it is, the children, because they didn't sign up for any of this. So I think your cousin might have felt like, okay, so there is something here. I feel like there was some argument within the family that caused a division, but I feel like your cousin might not have known about this argument, or might not have known what it was that people were so angry over, or like whatever this was. Like it never, like the information was never it never traveled to the ears of your cousin. So your cousin was oblivious of any family politics going on. I think they were also too young to really understand what it was about. So I think your cousin might have internalized this, because I think, maybe maybe your cousin's nuclear family was isolated from the rest of the family. And they knew that. They knew that they were not allowed or whatever to talk to you that somehow, or you were not allowed to talk to them. I think that was the way that it was, like that they knew that somehow suddenly your connection with your cousin, like that it was supposed to be hush hush, that nobody was supposed to know that you two were talking together or something. So I think your cousin knew that there was something that wasn't right, that it felt like there was the separation, like the division. But I think they just thought that it was because the extended family was embarrassed of them, that the extended family just collectively agreed that they were not cool enough, or not, not good enough, or that they were embarrassing, or that they were embarrassing the rest of the family. And I think they kind of understood that part. Like, even if that was the wrong conclusion, I think they kind of would have thought of that as a logical explanation, because I think they were, like, your cousin was quite embarrassed of their parents. Like, they knew that their parents were not super cool, or they were not, they were not good at keeping up appearances. They were not, picture perfect. They didn't keep the house squeaky clean. Nothing was really working out. Like, everything was kind of, chaotic, and they would have understood that part, I think. And that is the explanation that they traveled to, like the conclusion that they went with at that time was that, okay, it's just because the rest of the family hates us because we're trashy, and it's very sad, actually. It's very sad, because I feel like your cousin actually, got a lot of insecurities over this, like became very self-conscious and looked very critically at their family, and at themselves, because they were a part of this family. So I think they understood that and they thought that you were probably embarrassed of them too, that you were embarrassed of your cousin, and so that your cousin tried to maybe, get out of your hair, because they thought, you probably don't want to be around them. And so I think they might have also withdrawn a little bit from you, because they thought, why make it harder than it has to be? Like, if you're embarrassed of us, or if your family is embarrassed of your cousin's family, then then maybe it's just better that you don't hang out together. And maybe they just wanted to relieve you from that embarrassment. And so I guess there was a lot of, I don't know, and I feel like, okay, so I feel like your cousin actually felt very envious of you. They thought of your family as, the good family, the perfect family, where everything was squeaky clean and everything was as it should be. And that I think your cousin wanted to be adopted into your family, because your family seemed to be popular in the extended family. Everybody wanted to go to Christmas parties at your family's house, but nobody wanted to go to Christmas parties at your cousin's family's house, like that. So I think that, your cousin understood that there was something about them that nobody in the extended family wanted to be around, that it was like they had the plague or something, that everybody was avoiding them, but they just didn't know why. But they understood that if it was because they were trashy, that makes sense. But, I think it wasn't actually that. I think it was some bigger thing that they just didn't know at the time, or maybe a smaller thing, like some argument, or so that maybe your cousin's father called your mother a bitch, and then suddenly hell broke loose because of that, and that was the reason why they were blocked out of the family for 20 years or something. I don't know. Like, it just feels like it might have been petty. But I think your cousin's imagination ran wild, and they thought that, oh, I get it. Maybe it's just they're just embarrassed of us because we're weird and we smell weird, or we have an ugly house, or we don't have like the newest clothes, or you know, it's kind of like we have too many cats, and you know, I don't know. Like it just. I'm gonna shuffle and see what the cards have to say. Okay, judgment reversed. So they don't think of you as someone who was judgmental towards them, but they knew that your parents were. So I think they knew that both of you, you know, were just stuck in the middle, and that there were some puppeteers here, that there were people who were calling the shots. You know, that your parents had the key to your relationship, and they were not giving you to the key, like that it was never your choice. And your cousin knows that it wasn't your choice, that it was your mother who kept saying that, oh, that you couldn't hang out with your cousin. So they knew that it wasn't you. So they don't hold you accountable for this. They don't blame you for any of this. But they might feel like now that both of you are older, that you're adults now, that nobody has, you know, the power over each of you, like that maybe your cousin feels like there's maybe no one holding you back from contacting them now because you're an adult. But of course you can also, you know, turn it around and say that your cousin could also contact you. But I feel like since your cousin always felt like they were not good enough, that they think it should be you who contact them, because they are maybe afraid of rejection, and they feel like they have gotten enough rejection from the family, so they don't really dare to contact anyone because they are just afraid of the reaction. So I feel like there might have been a time when your cousin was very lonely. I feel like it could have been during the COVID pandemic, that there might have been, like, it might have been a very, very rough time for your cousin, and maybe your cousin would have wanted you to reach out to them. Maybe there was also some traumatic things that happened during this time, or maybe earlier than that. I don't know. Like, it just feels like there was some kind of traumatic experience, and maybe your cousin thought that, you know, the family would be there for them, or maybe they were hoping that. I think they didn't think of it, or they didn't hope for it, because they knew that, you know, they knew how the family was. But I think they would have wanted it, but, you know, they just didn't expect it. So they had no expectations of you doing that. But I think when they look back at it, like in retrospect, they feel like it's strange that nobody came to ask them how they were feeling. That none of the family members did. Nobody in the family seemed to have the heart to even ask them just a simple, how do you feel? Like that. I feel like there might have been a loss in their family, like in their nuclear family, that it must have been someone quite close to them that passed away or something, or someone got sick, like maybe their dad got sick, like with something, you know, very devastating, cancer, or very severe epilepsy or something. I don't know. Or epilepsy, sorry, yeah. But I think it seems like your cousin felt very alone in the world and felt very lonely. And so, you know, but the thing is that I feel like your family is very flawed, you know, the communication is very flawed, it's very dysfunctional. So if your cousin's father or mother got sick, it might not have traveled to anyone in the family because your cousin's family is so isolated from the extended family that maybe nobody knew. Or maybe someone knew, maybe someone in your nuclear family knew, maybe your mother knew or your father knew, but they might not have felt like it was even their place to tell you about it. Maybe they felt like that was just not, you know, not any information that you needed. So maybe you didn't know, and so maybe how could you have reached out to them if you didn't even know that they were in need of your help or your support at that moment, you know? So with the Page of Cups reversed, yeah, I think your cousin might have thought of you as someone who didn't reach out, didn't offer your help at a time when they needed help. But I don't think they hold you accountable in that sense. Like, I don't think they feel any resentment over you just because you didn't reach out, because nobody did. None of their family members did. So it's not just you who's the problem here. So I don't know if that helps, but I feel like with the Page of Cups, it reversed, it could also be that maybe you speak a different language than your cousin, or maybe if your cousin moved away or their family moved away, or maybe if your family moved away when you were young, I feel like maybe there might be a language barrier that makes it really hard for you to reach out to them or for them to reach out to you. So there might be that makes it 10 times harder to keep this connection going. And I think your cousin is aware of that there is something with communication that isn't working, and that might never work out, but they still have a lot of fond memories of, you know, the past, the childhood that you two shared, that they still have those things that they can look back on, and they have a lot of photographs. And maybe, like, I feel like your cousin is at a point of acceptance where they accept that was maybe what they had with you. And that's okay, that it's not, that they will maybe never have, you know, a proper family life with the extended family. Because of everything that has been going on for the past 10 years or 20 years, that, you know, yeah. But they still want to talk to you. They might also just want to talk about, you know, some of the things that they were not a part of. They might have absolutely no idea of a lot of things that went on in the extended family after the separation, after the division. They might not know anything about many of the family members. So I don't know what, like, I feel like, of course, this is not that much about you personally. I know that this is about your connection and the past, but I feel like how your cousin thinks of you is reflected by the history, of course, because there seems to be sparse information about you as a person, and I think that is because your cousin don't quite know you as an adult. They don't know who you are. They used to know who you were as a kid, but you're not a kid anymore, and they don't know who you grew up to be. Not in particular. They might know some things from photos on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever, I don't know, like that. They might know some stuff about you, but it's only the pictures, and the pictures can show a very different reality than who you are as a person. But I think, like, I think they don't quite know. They would like to know who you are now, but they just don't know. Like, they have never been introduced to the adult version of you, or maybe they have, but not quite, you know, not really. They haven't gone in depth in knowing who you are. And it's not because they haven't wanted to, but it's just because they have not had the occasion to do that, to get really close to you and figure you out. Of course, based on photos on Instagram, they might feel like you're living a picture perfect life, and that they might still feel like, you know, they are still the embarrassing, trashy family member that you might not want to be seen with. But it's not because of something you did. It's more about their insecurities, how they felt when they were a teenager, and maybe how they still feel a little bit as an adult. They might still feel like they are not good enough for the family, that the family looks down on them. So, I don't know. But I think that's all I have for you, group number 1. I hope this reading was helpful. I want to emphasize that I think your cousin thinks very positively of you. They have a lot of fond memories, and they think of you as someone they really want to get to know. They're just afraid that you don't want to get to know them. So that's what I'm sensing. So that's all I have for you, group number 1. I hope this reading was helpful, and have a great day, and bye. Hello, group number 2. You chose the Medieval Cats Tarot, and I'm going to start with some channeling, and then I'm going to shuffle the cards for you. So I'm going to do the channeling now. So Spirit, can you answer this question for group number 2, the people who will choose group number 2? What does group number 2's cousin think of group number 2? Okay. They think of you as someone who stole their grandparents from them. Okay. I think they felt like you spent a lot of time with their grandparents, and that was unfair, that you got to spend so much time with them. I'm also sensing something about favoritism, where I think maybe your cousin felt like you were the favorite, and that was frustrating to them, that they always felt like they were in your shadow, that you could never do anything wrong, that you were the perfect one, the perfect grandson or granddaughter, that you were the one who could do no wrong. And even if you did something wrong, you could get away with it. It's like your grandparents saw it as cute if you did something wrong. I feel like this was mostly when you were like 4 years old or something. You might have gotten in some trouble sometimes, might have stolen some things or like ruined something around your grandparents' house, or maybe, you know, misplaced something that was of big value, something that was, you know, an heirloom or something. You might have broken it or something, but your grandparents never got you in any trouble for it. Like that, there was never, like, it was like you had some kind of protective shield around you, that no matter what you did, you were always forgiven. And it was so easy for you. Like you could just, you know, you could just use your charm, and then you could just get away with it because you were very cute. But of course, 4-year-olds are very cute, obviously. So it's easier for them. If your cousin was maybe a little bit older at the time, they might not have been old enough to quite understand why there was, you know, a difference in the way that you two were treated, because there was an age difference. Like, of course, if your cousin was 8 years old and you were 4, of course, as an 8-year-old, you can't get away with some of the stuff that a 4-year-old can get away with. So there is that obviously there is a difference there, but maybe your cousin couldn't quite see the difference at that time and saw it as you just being the favorite. You were just number 1 and they were in 2nd place, and that your grandparents loved you more than they loved them, loved your cousin, you know, that and it could also just have been because you were maybe a little bit more likable as a kid. And of course, your cousin can't do anything about that. Of course, it's not like they chose to be this way, but they might have had some quirks or some things that they did, or some things about their personality that just wasn't super lovable. But even though I think your grandparents loved both of you equally, I don't think there was any favoritism. But of course, if your cousin was a little bit more aggressive about certain things, or might have been more keen on talking back at your grandparents, like, or, you know, maybe trying to irritate them by like jumping up and down in the couch or in the bed or something, even though they were told 100 times that they were not supposed to do that, or something like that, that they might have done things to provoke their grandparents, maybe to get a reaction, maybe to get attention, maybe because they felt like they had to, you know, fight for the attention. So it didn't matter whether it was negative or positive attention, they just needed attention. So they might have thought it was easier to get negative attention because they were not very good at charming their grandparents. They were not good at being cute. They were not good at, you know, that they couldn't put up that facade, if that makes sense. That front. And maybe it was because they were not very good at masking when they were younger. And I don't know if I don't know, like I'm getting a little bit of autism or ADHD or something, like some vibes from your cousin. And I'm feeling that your cousin might have had some issues because of a diagnosis that they didn't have at the time, but they were struggling because they were never understood at that time, that none of the adults understood them, and they were just considered strange or aggressive or like a problem child. And I think there was a lot of things that your cousin had some insecurities about back then, where they felt like they were, like they had to really fight for people's approval, or yeah, it just feels like there was a lot going on. And ultimately, I feel like the conclusion that they have drawn is that, like, even though there was a lot of things going on in their childhood, they still think of you as someone who robbed their grandparents from them, even though it's not really the right conclusion. But I guess that's the conclusion that they think make most sense now, I guess. That they feel like you just came along and suddenly everything shifted. Like, maybe if your cousin was older than you, they got to have like 4 years or something with their grandparents where they were the apple of your grandparents' eye, and that it was just, you know, only them, and they were the grandparents' whole world. And then you came along and something shifted and you got a lot of attention, and you know, and I think they just felt jealous of what you had with your grandparents, and they couldn't really share. You know, that was the thing, that they didn't really know how to share their grandparents with you, that they felt ownership over their grandparents, and they actually didn't know how to share. Like, they had such a hard time figuring out how to come to terms with, you know, two people having to fight for the spotlight. So I feel like your cousin also got quite jealous of you, like in your teenage years. I feel like maybe some of you also spent a lot of time with your grandparents when you were teenagers, and maybe you even lived with your grandparents as a teenager. Maybe when you were going through high school or something, you might have lived at your grandparents' house, maybe for a while, maybe for a few months, or maybe a year or something. I don't know. But I feel like your cousin thought that was favoritism, because they didn't get that offer. Like, they would have wanted to live with their grandparents too, but that was never an option for them, or they felt like that was never an option. But of course it always was, but they just didn't take advantage of that option because they didn't know it existed. But of course, like, you can't be held accountable for something that they didn't know was even an option for them, just because you took that option when you needed it. Like that, but they might have even felt like you took advantage of the grandparents by living with them, or that they were helping you financially, even if they weren't. But they might have thought that, or that they thought that you were just, you know, living there for free, or that you were maybe also getting some money under the table or something, that they were just kind of greedy in their way of looking at this beautiful situation that both, like, I feel like you were just hanging out with your grandparents because you wanted to, and maybe you even lived with them, maybe halfway because you needed a place to stay, but maybe also halfway because you just wanted to be in the presence of your grandparents. It was just a cute thing that you had, like a cute time in your life where you were just hanging out with your grandparents, watching Jeopardy or the Wheel of Fortune or whatever, and just having a blast with them. And you know, I think that's the thing about your cousin, is that I don't think your cousin would ever want to just sit with your grandparents. Like, I don't know if your grandparents are still alive, but I'm just gonna, like, I don't know, but I don't think your cousin would ever want to sit with your grandparents just watching television. So in a way, I don't think your cousin really wants that, connection like that. They just want it because you have it, or that you had it and they didn't, and they felt like you were getting something that they weren't getting. But I don't think they actually would want it if it was right in front of them, because I don't think they really want to spend quality time with people in the family, not your grandparents, not anyone. So I don't quite know what your cousin's deal is here, why they are so angry that everybody's getting something that they're not getting, that they're so afraid that someone is taking advantage of another person, or like that, But I feel like mostly it's not about taking advantage. It's because this person really wants to just, make it known that it's really unfair. Because if they would want this too. So in a way, they are accusing you of taking advantage of your grandparents, when if they were in the same situation as you, they would have taken that option if they knew it existed. They would have taken advantage of their grandparents if they had the chance, but they just didn't. And so they feel like, instead of saying that they're jealous of you, because they know that that's kind of childish to be jealous, they kind of spin it in the take advantage direction, where they feel like they can get people to kind of hop onto that wagon, if that makes sense. That feels like a better narrative for them to share around. Like if they have to share it, like if they have to talk about it with other family members, they would maybe spin it in that sense, like that way, talk about how you're taking advantage. And I think they have tried to push that narrative. But the thing is that they don't actually believe that you have taken advantage of your grandparents. They just are ripping of jealousy that you got to spend more time with the grandparents than they did, and maybe even got some perks for staying with them, like for spending time with them. And they, maybe your grandparents are kind of, the type of people who maybe, hand you a little bit of money, just saying, okay, but just for your time, it's just, a little compensation because you're so nice and you want to spend time with us, and it's so nice to have you around, and that sort of thing. And maybe your cousin knows that there must be something that you're getting, like that they didn't get from your grandparents, and that they feel kind of envious for something that they don't even quite know whether you're getting it or not, but they have a suspicion, and they just feel that it's unfair, that it's unjust, that I don't know. I'm gonna shuffle. I feel like your cousin doesn't quite like to spend time with any family members whatsoever. I think that's the funny thing, is that they might be jealous that you're spending time with family or something, but in reality, your cousin is quite hostile towards the family. They don't even want to go to family gatherings. They don't want to go to weddings or birthdays or anything like that. They would rather be at home. Like they have maybe also cancelled on a lot of, these family parties because they just didn't want to be bothered with it, because they don't like to spend time with the family. They find it to be a chore to spend time with the family. So it's kind of funny that they get so jealous. And I don't know what that's about, really. But I feel like it's because they have ownership over the grandparents, and maybe they don't give a fuck about any of the other family members. That it's only the grandparents that they have any sort of respect for, or any sort of love for. you know. But of course, this reading is about you, but I just felt like I needed to get this whole, you know, story across before. But of course, what your cousin thinks of you, it is reflecting, it is reflected of what's happening, you know, and I feel like they think of you as someone who's a little bit spoiled, someone who is a favorite, someone who has had it easy because everybody loves you, everybody likes you, you are, you know, the center of attention sometimes, and you know, you get away with a lot of things that they don't get away with. Even as adults, they might still feel like you have that 4-year-old's charm still, even when you are 25 or whatever you are, like that you're still, you can still get away with stuff like that. Even if you say something that's a little bit out of line, you can just kind of, you know, smile your way out of it without it having to be, you know, a big issue within the family. Like you can charm your way out of things, and that's one of the things that your cousin kind of finds to be unfair. They just, I don't know. I'm going to shuffle. Okay. So with the 9 of Wands and the 6 of Swords. So, okay, this makes sense. I think your cousin sees you as someone who kind of got something. You got some, I don't know if there's some inheritance that your cousin might be angry over, or like if you got more of the inheritance than they did, or if you got some kind of heirloom that they would have wanted. They feel like that's very, very unfair. But the thing is that they might have been asked first, because I feel like this person is older than you, and I think they might have, like, maybe because of the age thing, they might have been asked first, and they said no to having this heirloom, maybe because they thought it was kind of hideous or something, and so they didn't want it. But then you said yes to it, and you started wearing it, or you started using it, and I think your cousin got jealous of it, jealous of you having it when you started using it and gotten something out of it. Like when you were happy with it, they wanted a piece of it, but they didn't want it before they saw you having a good time with it or using it, or, you know, that it seemed like they would rather just get the joy out of you, like taking away the joy from you so that you don't get joy from it anymore. It's not because they want it, it's more that they don't want you to have it, if that makes sense. There's a lot of resentment. I don't know what your cousin's deal is, because I feel like they are, you know, shooting themselves in the foot, because they are not coming across as very charming, and they seem to be rather selfish about a lot of things, and they have this anger, especially when it comes to the family, that they just feel like everybody is getting more than them, and that everybody's being favoritized over them, and that they are always the last priority, and that, you know, it could just be that that they just feel like they are not, I don't know, like I don't know, it's just, okay, so what I was going to say is that I think you might have gotten something, like not just about the inheritance, but maybe earlier than that, there might have been, you know, maybe when you were staying at your grandparents' house, or when you were, you know, being helped by your grandparents, maybe a little bit, like they might have helped you a little bit financially, maybe through high school or college or something. They might have just given you a little bit of a contribution because maybe if you didn't get that, you were going to drop out. Maybe because your parents might not be as well off as your cousin's parents. So there was an issue, there was a reason for you to be, you know, to get help because you needed it. And they might, yeah, your grandparents might have helped you. I know this is not going to resonate with all of you, but this is just what I'm sensing. It's some kind of loan or something that you might have gotten from your grandparents or some other family member, like in the extended family. And I think after you got that loan, you might have moved away, as you do. Like if you finished high school, you might have gotten, you know, you might have moved away to go to college, obviously, which would be far away, because if you got into a good college, you know, geographically it might not have been, you know, close to your hometown, but you had to choose, you had to do it because, you know, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity, possibly. But I think your cousin thought of that as spoiled because, you know, then you got money from your grandparents and then you just left. And then you just left all of the hard work for others to take care of. Like that, you know, suddenly you were not there to help out your grandparents or be there for your grandparents or like just, you know, hang out with your grandparents anymore because you were living so far away and maybe you didn't call them every day or something, and maybe your cousin felt like that's the least you could have done, that maybe you were just being a spoiled brat that suddenly just, you know, fled everything and left everything for others to take care of. And maybe your cousin feels like they took care of the grandparents more than you did or whatever. I don't know. Like, so I'm going to shuffle a little bit more. Page of Swords reversed. I think your cousin thinks of you as someone who like if you dropped out of college, I think they have that on you as well. Like that, oh, okay, so you got all that help to get through college and then you drop out of college, and that's just so disrespectful to the money that was being given to you, you know, by the grandparents or someone else who was funding your education, that it was just a fuck finger to these people. And that, you know, yeah, they might have seen you as ungrateful. I think your cousin is just, you know, I don't know why they are so up in everybody else's business when the truth of the matter is that your cousin doesn't give a fuck about anyone in the family. Like, they couldn't care less. They haven't shed a tear if anybody died in the family, they don't give a fuck. Like really, they have absolutely no attachment to any of these people, and they don't want to hang out with anyone. And that's also like, if they feel like they had to do that because maybe their parents told them, oh, can't you go over to your grandparents and maybe, you know, cook dinner for them or do something nice for them, or like that then it was a chore. They felt like they had to do that. Like that was such a terrible thing that they had to do, that it was something they felt like they needed to be compensated for. And if you were getting money from your grandparents, they felt like, you know, that is money that they deserved. That was their money. Even if they had a lot of money, even if their parents were well off and they had absolutely no money troubles, they still felt like, you know, they needed to be compensated for all the nice deeds that they did. But the thing is that you did more good deeds for the family members than your cousin did, but you never thought you needed compensation for it, because you did it out of the goodness of your heart, because you wanted to, because you liked them, because you wanted to hang out with them. It was never a chore for you. And so that's the difference. Okay, the Empress. So if your cousin is a male, and you're a female, if that's how this is, then I think maybe your cousin feels like some of the things that you've been able to get away with was only because you were female. That because you were a girl when you were growing up, that because you were a girl, you got to do some things that they didn't get to do, that you got away with some things that they didn't get away with, that they got scolded if they did something wrong. But when you did the same thing, it was kind of like this hilarious little incident that everybody just felt was so cute, that they even got their camera and started taking photographs of it, because, you know, maybe it was a little bit different. But I don't think it was because you were a girl. I just think it was because you were more likable and more charming and had a better way of kind of dealing with, you know, the situation in a way where it just ended up being cute. So I don't know, maybe it was because you had some girl privilege, I guess, maybe. But I think, you know, your cousin could have easily gotten that privilege too, if they had just handled themselves a little bit more charmingly. I guess, of course, they couldn't, because, you know, they were born this way, but they also were, you know, shooting themselves in the foot growing up. They were making it really hard for people to love them. And I'm not saying that because I'm like, of course it's a child, so I can't say that really, because, you know, children can't, like, they can't change the way they are. But I feel like now, when your cousin is an adult, they should be in control of how they come across. And I think the thing is that now they still have these things that they used to have, like, in the sense that they are pointing fingers at everyone. Everyone is doing everything wrong, and they are being very negative and, you know, criticizing people for everything, and they are pointing fingers at everyone for taking advantage, or that this person is robbing that person, or that person is robbing this person, and that, you know, it's still very uncharming. That somebody's a freeloader as well, like that. This person is very, very, very fixated on who is squatting on who, you know, like that. Like there might be someone who has, like, some family member who just, you know, chose to maybe stay at another family member's house. It was both, you know, decided upon, like both people wanted this. It wasn't like anybody was forced to do it. It was an agreement. But I think your cousin sees it as that person being a squatter, that it just seems like that other family member just can't get rid of that person. And maybe you were that person, I guess, but I feel like it's not only you. I feel like every time a family member, you know, wants to hang out with another family member, or wants to, you know, get some help from another family member, like family members do, you know. And sometimes, you know, if you're going somewhere and you need a place to stay, and you know there's family living at this place that you're going, in this city that you're going to, like, of course you're gonna be squatting at their house, you know, of course, because that is what family members do. They contact each other when they need help. They stay with each other when they have no other place to stay. And they do it happily because they're family. So, but I think that is what your cousin doesn't understand, is that there is a difference between family members and strangers. Of course, strangers don't do this, but family members do. But I think they just don't quite understand that family feeling, that there is a family privilege. If you're a family, you do other things for each other. And but I think they are very distant from their family. They just see their family as some people, some strangers that they have to, you know, take care of, or have to, you know, talk to sometimes at family gatherings. And it's like they have this philosophy or this mindset that family is just a bunch of people that they haven't chosen. They haven't chosen their family, so they don't have to do anything or be there for anyone in the family because they haven't chosen these people. And I think they actually value more the people that they have chosen, you know, their friends, the people that they have found out in the world, like that. These people are more valuable to them than their family. So I guess they just think, like, they are a little bit indifferent when it comes to you. So their thoughts of you are not, like, their thoughts of you are a little bit like a stranger. They just see you like if you were a stranger, they would have the same thoughts. I don't know if that makes sense, but they are very indifferent of you and the rest of the family. Like, on an emotional level, they don't really see an attachment to anyone in the family. They don't feel it. In a way, I think they just see the family as a bunch of idiots that they don't have anything in common with. And that's kind of the narcissism. Like, there's a little bit of, they feel a little bit above the family, looking down on them. And so that's also why they get to be the judge of anyone in the family's behavior. Like, they can always look down and say, oh, you're not being a right, like, you're not doing this right, you're not doing right by these people, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. But in a way, like, they don't quite know what's actually expected of them, like, because they don't understand the whole concept of family. It's very foreign for them. But I'm going to end the reading here. I think this is all I can get out of this reading here. So thank you for watching, and have a great day, and bye. Hello, group number 3. You chose this Sola Busca tarot deck, and I'm going to start with some channeling, and then I'm going to shuffle the cards for you. So I'm going to do the channeling now. So Spirit, can you answer this question for group number 3, the people who will choose group number 3? What does group number 3's cousin think of group number 3? Oh, they think you're funny. They really love your sense of humor. They think you are a born entertainer, that you've always had this showmanship gene, something where, like, it was always very special, even when you were a child, that you always had that X factor or something, like something extra that made you stand out. And I'm sensing that your cousin really saw you and still sees you as a very original person, someone who in a way deserves to be famous, because you have that star quality. And I'm not just gassing you up. This is what I'm getting. This is the message that I'm getting, is that your cousin really sees you as a star, someone who should be up on a stage. And this is especially how they felt about you when you were younger. I feel like they still see this in you, but I think they feel like you have kind of lost track of this in your mind, that you don't see yourself as this person anymore. Or maybe you never did, I don't know, but I'm sensing that your cousin sees you as someone who has some insecurities, and that it seems like you have kind of gotten further and further into your shell. And that this is such a shame, because I think your cousin really, really believed in you, and still really believes in you, but they just feel like you're your own worst enemy, because you're constantly, shooting yourself in the foot by just not seeing how special you are and seeing how other people perceive you. That it's like there is a detachment or some distance between the way that you see yourself and the way other people see you, that you don't realize that you're very likable, that you are very charismatic, that people instantly fall in love with you when they meet you, because you have that it factor, you have that thing that makes people just instantly like you. And your cousin feels like this. It's such a shame that you have turned so critical of you, like that you've become so critical, and that you keep bashing yourself, keep talking yourself down, and every time someone gives you a compliment, you're like, no, that's nothing, I'm not special, I'm not different from anyone else, like that you always downplay yourself. And I feel like your cousin is quite frustrated that you don't see it. So I think your cousin really wants you to be more confident and have more trust in your abilities, that you can be famous, you can, go out there and just do something that will become a success. But that you seem so afraid of taking that leap, that you're maybe not ever gonna even try to do this, or that's what your cousin feels, is that they feel like you're never gonna try anything because you're afraid of failing, or that you're afraid it's not going to be perfect. That maybe if some of you have maybe written something, like something that, like a book or something. Your cousin feels like this book is great. It sounds brilliant. It sounds extraordinary. Like when you talk about it, if you have talked about it with your cousin, they really saw this, or like they imagined it to be incredible, and they just don't understand why you never just send it to a publisher. Like you could have just done that. And I think they just feel like you're critical. You're your own worst enemy because you're so critical of yourself. I feel like some of you might be content creators, but maybe you haven't actually told your cousin about it, so they might not know that you're actually trying to, get yourself out there, but maybe you're, keeping it hidden. And that's also a part of it, that I think they feel like, you should shout it out from the rooftops. You shouldn't do anything in secret. You should, and you shouldn't hide the very thing that makes you so special. Like, why hide that? So even if, like, maybe they even know that you're hiding this from them, or that you're hiding something, or they just have that feeling that there's something that you're sitting on. But they just feel like, why? Like, why? Why are you keeping that from them? And they have a lot of trust in you, and they're very proud of you. And they have like always been very proud of you every time you did something, every time you showed people who you truly are. And they would be so proud if you published something, like if you published a book, they would be so proud of you. Like they would feel like they would feel like they would have the bragging rights, where they could say, that famous person, that famous author, that's actually my cousin, they want to be able to say that. And so I'm really getting a feeling that your cousin is rooting you on. They're wishing that you get your finger out and just do something extraordinary, because that is what's in the cards for you. That is, like, you have this great potential. You're funny, you're entertaining, you're charismatic, you're smart, you have a lot of emotional intelligence. I think your cousin sees you as someone who is incredible also at, seeing right through something, seeing right through people as well, psychoanalyzing people, and, also getting to the core of the issue, figuring out, like, why people act the way they act, that you have a very good way of summing things up. Like if there's some issue in the family, you're really good at getting to the point of it, like getting to the core of it, figuring out, oh, it's because of this thing that happened 20 years ago. That's actually what this is all about. Like that they don't really, usually they don't connect the dots, but they feel like you're very good at connecting the dots. And they see you just as a very incredible person, very extraordinary. And it's a very, very nice, very positive energy. They would just wish that you could see it. So I'm gonna shuffle. Okay, 7 of Cups. So they see you as a visionary. They see you as someone who has great ideas, that you have it all in your head, but you're not very good at taking those ideas and making something out of them. and that frustrates your cousin a little bit, that you have all this greatness going on, that you have all these magnificent ideas about like books that you want to write, these projects that you want to do, paintings that you want to paint. I don't know, like it just feels like you have all these creative ideas, but that you don't seem to have the time to ever really make it into reality, or like materialize these ideas. It just feels like maybe your cousin thinks that you're too afraid of starting, because you're afraid that it's not gonna work out the way that you want it to, or that it's not going to be perfect, it's not going to be as, that of course sometimes the ideas that we have in our head, they are better as ideas, because sometimes we can get disappointed when we translate it into matter, and the matter is just not commuting with whatever was going on in your brain. That it is I think they feel like you might need that extra push to get things going, to start things, and they want to give you that extra push. I don't know if they are that much in contact with you anymore. I feel like maybe you two have maybe drifted a little bit apart, because maybe there has been a lot of things going on, like maybe both of you have been busy. But I think they really want to tell you that, like they want to ask you, what is the worst thing that could happen if you just, tried to make something out of this? Like, if you tried to make it, if you tried to like shoot for the stars, what is the worst that could happen? You could fail, yes, but what else? Like, is there anything worse than that? Because failing is just a part of life, and they just really want to tell you that, that you're great. And that even if you feel like something is not perfect, like if you're writing a book and you don't find it to be perfect at this moment, you feel like there's so much stuff that you need to do with it before you can send it to a publisher, like you have to read it through a few times more, and you have to maybe add some things, and brush out the bad stuff, and you have to really do a lot of editing or something. They don't think so. They feel like, maybe if you edited this piece and added a lot of chapters, or, if you did all that nitpicking with it, that it would end up possibly not any better than it originally was. That maybe you would just be spending a lot of time on bettering something that was already perfect, and that if you just published it, that the readers would see it as perfect the way it is. And if they read the original and then read the perfected version afterwards, they would hate that. They would think, oh, the original is the right one, that is the best one, not the extended version, that was too long, and that they would really love the original. So I think I think your cousin just wants you to trust that what you have already done is good enough. I don't know if this is going to resonate with all of you, but I know that, of course, maybe many of you are not actually writers or want to write, but I just feel like there's something creative that you're brewing on, or something that you're sitting on, something that your cousin knows about. They know that you're a creative person. They just want you to really, lean into it, embrace it. that you're maybe going the corporate way instead of just, you know, doing your own thing. And I think they want you to do you. So I feel like I feel like your cousin thinks of you right now as someone who is living a life that is not yours. Like that you're maybe, you know, doing things because you were told to do them, or because someone suggested that you did this or that or whatever, and that you just followed their suggestion blindly without really thinking whether this was even, you know, what you wanted for yourself. That maybe you have done some things because you wanted to make someone proud of you, maybe your parents or someone else, I don't know, that, or maybe your grandparents even, like that you have done some things because you thought that was the right thing to do, the thing that was the most proper thing to do. And I think your cousin just wants you to freak out a little bit and just do things your way, live your own life. So, with a Page of Swords reversed, your cousin thinks of you as someone who is, you know, who is more creative. You know, you're just so much more creative than you are, you know. Like, I feel like maybe some of you have chosen to go the academic route, and you might have gone to the university, maybe you have a degree in something, but I feel like your cousin just thinks of you as someone, like they saw a different person in you, like when they saw you as a kid, like when they knew you as a teenager, they were very certain that you were going to do your own thing. And you were just gonna, you know, that you were gonna do something original with your life. And I think they might be a little bit disappointed that you chose to just do whatever everybody else was doing. Okay. So with the 5 of Swords, I think they see you as someone who took the leftovers. You know, I don't know if that makes sense, but in terms of your life, you kind of put yourself last in line instead of, you know, pushing yourself in front. And I think your cousin wants you to realize that you need to take up space. You need to, you know, embrace yourself and let yourself fill out the place and be, you know, the star that you are. That you shouldn't be an excuse for yourself. You shouldn't say, oh, I'm sorry that I'm here, you know. Don't apologize for your own existence. You matter. You are important. And you can do something that many other people can't do. So by default, you should be first in line. You should, like, you should be, you know, like, I'm sensing also that you shouldn't be afraid of stepping on other people's toes, you know, because you don't get far in life by just being kind to everyone. Like that, at some point you might have to take the space from somebody else. And, you know, you deserve that too. You deserve the space just as much as the next person. So it's all about remembering that you deserve to be here. You deserve to take up this space. Like also in the industry or in the field that you have chosen for yourself. Don't feel like you have to, excuse your, like that you are there. Like that, I don't know if this makes sense, but it's just that your cousin wants you to remember that, that you deserve to be first in line. You don't walk behind the others. Don't, like, when it's your turn to do something, don't go back to the end of the line just because you want to be kind to somebody, or like that. That's just the feeling that I'm getting. That this could be in terms of your career, but it could also just be how you act in general, that you're always kind of being nice to everyone and letting everybody else come first. And like if you are being offered something, you say no because you don't want to be a bother. That if someone offers you something to drink, you say no just because, even though you're thirsty, but you just seem to have that reaction, like that immediate reaction where you just don't want to be of any trouble to anyone. But you're not, and that's what your cousin wants you to know, is that you're not any trouble. You're not a bother. You're not bothering anyone. Everybody's happy to accommodate your needs, that you're too humble. That's what I'm sensing, that your cousin thinks you're too humble. Stop being so humble, So with the Ace of Swords reversed, they want you to, in a way they feel like it's a shame that you've become so introverted, but it's not, because like they know that of course this is just how you are, but I think they just feel quite puzzled by this, because you used to be a japper. Like you you were yapping on all the time when you were younger. You were always, always talking, always, having conversations with people, always, asking questions and always making jokes all the time. And I feel like your cousin don't quite know where that went, because it seems like you kind of lost that. But in a way, I feel like your cousin thinks it's coming back, but that maybe they felt like when you were a teenager, it's like you became really, really shy, like overly shy, and that they just didn't know what was happening, and they were very worried about you. And I think they might have assumed that it was because of something that happened in school, or something, that maybe you were getting bullied or something, and that, kids can be cruel. So someone who has so much personality that you had, like so much charisma, so much, humor, that of course you, like if someone was jealous of you at that time, like kids can be cruel, and they might have just taken away your spirit. And I think that's the conclusion that your cousin just came to, that, must have been because someone wanted to take the joy out of you. Some dumb kid. And they just feel like that is so unfair. because you just had that and you still have it. And they really feel like they are seeing this again now, as like when you're an adult now, they see this spark come back to you, and that you are being funny again, you're making jokes again, and they just love that, and they're so happy that you are leaning more into your personality and not hiding it away. But they wonder what happened, but they also feel like they shouldn't ask you, because that's maybe too personal, or they don't want to step on, like they don't want to overstep. But they see you as someone who is just really, really likable, They want you to be like a content creator or something like that, because they feel like, people will fall in love with your personality, because you have so much to show people. And they just want you to redeem yourself, because or not redeem yourself, but it's more like, have that comeback. That, of course, maybe you've had your spirits taken away from you by some cruel kids, but you need that comeback where you need to just, take over the world and do the things that you were always supposed to do. Yeah. But they have only really high thoughts of you, just so you know. They see you as a wonderful person. They want to hang out with you more, but they just know that maybe both of you are busy, or maybe they just feel like, that it's a little bit strange possibly for them to just call you out of the blue. I don't know. I think they would do that, but it's just maybe you two have somehow drifted apart a little bit. But I don't know. They really want to spend more time with you. They think you're the funniest person they know. And that's kind of big, That's a big compliment. But that you need to learn to, accept compliments. Because it's not fun to give you any compliments when you're always saying that, oh, that's not true, or something like that. That's just, disrespectful of the person who's actually giving you a great compliment that's coming from their heart, something that's really heartfelt. So that's all I have for you. I'm going to end the reading here. So thank you for watching, and have a great day, and bye.